Notice what he said to try to capture the minds of the people. He wants you to see with your understanding eye. Now, thought travels at the rate of 24 billion miles per second, which means they're moving. It will require discipline on your part to stay focused in order to understand what's going on. And don't take this message or his message very lightly. Do you understand the signs of Moses and Mary being fulfilled? Do you know what that actually means? Just let me give you a little bit of what it means. It means that once we put that out there in the world, the entire white world of religion, it's done. It's over with. Just by knowing who are the real chosen people of God, just by knowing who is Moses and who is Mary, it destroys everything that the Christian world is built upon, which is built upon a lie. So the truth is here to destroy it. Now, what is the truth? I'm trying to lay a foundation here for you because I'm going to give you some information by which you can determine something is a truth or a lie. Now, what is truth? Facts, actuality, or real events, or circumstantial evidence, enough circumstantial evidence whereby a reasonable person can conclude that it is the truth. These are the criteria of ascertaining the truth, if you will. So now, last week we spoke about the chosen people of God. And we spoke about how the Jews are attempting to steal your and my identity. I'm offended by such. I'm offended by such. They're trying to steal our identity based on scriptural, biblical information by saying that they are Abraham's seeds. So now let's first reestablish factually what's in the book. And I just want to read it to you one more time because we're going to get past this because his lecture, Mr. Muhammad's lecture, was so profound. You're not going to be able to teach that in just one setting. So bear with me. All we want to do is establish a fact that they are the chosen people. And two people are claiming to be God's choice. The Jews are one, and the Afro-descendants in the Western Hemisphere are the others. I'm in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God has chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all peoples that are upon the face of the planet Earth. That's a fact. That's in the book that the people have been chosen. Now the question is, who are God's chosen people? Let's start with the Jews, since they're claiming this. My job is to prove them to be liars. I can't prove them to be liars unless I have your attention, because keep in mind the war of Armageddon, the war of the minds. See, we can't let them get away with this. Now, I want to preface that by saying, when Master Farad Muhammad told the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you don't need me anymore, he meant just that. He had come to give us everything we need to get moving in the right direction, to reestablish ourselves in the earth as being the original people, as being the gods of the earth. He gave us lessons. Now, the key to get things turned is this. It's speaking the truth and practicing righteous conduct, because you and I, we are God. Our power is not in telling lies. Our power is not in cheating, doing wrong. Our power is in telling the truth and being righteous. The devil's power The white man's power comes from lies. Please understand this. When you begin to tell the truth and commit yourself to being a truthful person, not lying, then you become a weapon, a most powerful weapon in this mighty war of Armageddon. Because the objective, just like how evil and lies were spread around the world and have corrupted the world today, then this day we ought to change the world from that and spread truth and righteousness, righteous influence, truthful influence around the world today. A man is the one that spreaded lies. Lies didn't just start spreading because of an evil spirit. A human being starts telling lies and start spreading the lies. A human being or human beings started promoting wrongdoing and making you feel like it's okay to do wrong. A human being is what spreaded wrongdoing and evil around the world today. And it's going to take a human being, righteous minds, to spread righteousness, to spread truth around the world today. And you can't do that, black man, chosen people of God, by telling lies. So the war of Armageddon is with the white world, no doubt about it. It's a war of the minds. But the war has to go inside of self. And you have to start getting him out of you, because in him raping our mothers and fathers in slavery, he put himself in us to make it easy for us to live his kind of life. So the war of Armageddon begins with you. It begins with me. And it's all predicated on you just telling the truth, making a concerted effort that you're not going to tell lies anymore. You're not going to do wrong anymore. And once you get to that state, as you're practicing that, what do the old adage say? Practice makes perfect. So this is the war of Armageddon. So let's go after the Jews. They say they're God's chosen people. God did choose the people. Are they God's chosen people? If so, what are they basing this claim on? That they're Abraham's seed. They're Abraham's seed. Okay, let's go in the book and let's see. They say they're Abraham's seed. Genesis 15 and 13. Now this is a description of God's chosen people. See, they have to fit the description. It's just like if you wear a size 9 shoe and somebody else wears a size 7. Well, when they put that shoe on, that shoe don't fit. Or if they wear a bigger size, it don't fit. It has to fit. So here is the description whereby we can identify God's chosen people. First of all, God told them, Abraham, that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs. The Jews have to fit that. They will be made to serve a people in that land. And the people in that land will afflict them, put them in slavery for 400 years. That's the description of Abraham's seed. Question. Abraham had 2 sons, Ishmael being the oldest, the first, and Isaac being the second. Or which one of these seeds, through their lineage, that fell into slavery? The Jews say it is through Isaac's lineage, by way of Jacob, because Isaac had 2 sons, Jacob and Esau. The Jews claim that they came into slavery through Jacob's lineage. That's what the Jews say. But here in the book, Abraham had to make a sacrifice. He had to sacrifice one of his seeds. The Jews say it was Isaac. I want to raise some suspicion in your mind right now by going to this particular verse about Isaac being the one. I want you to bear with me. I don't have my young student to help me right now because he's a little sick, but I was going to ask him to help me with this verse. So bear with me, believers. I'm going to get to it. Oh, now, check this out. Please listen to this. And it came to pass after these, oh, I'm sorry. I am in Genesis chapter 22, verse 1. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham and said unto Abraham, and he said, behold, here am I. This is what Abraham said. Behold, here am I. And he said, take now thine son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering. That's a sacrifice. That's a sacrifice. Offer him there for a burnt offering. That's a sacrifice. Now I'm going to skip on over and read verse 12 because it's something I want you to focus on. There's an emphasis being put on this. And he said, lay not, this is the angel talking to Abraham. Abraham got ready to slay Isaac. And lay not thy hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing that thou hast not withheld thine son, thine only son. Stop. Can you see the emphasis being put on thine son, thine only son? Now, God is not a liar. For Ishmael was Abraham's son. In fact, Ishmael was the first son. Ishmael was the first son. And and Abraham complained to God about letting Ishmael live before him. And God told Abraham that worry not about the lad, for I will make him a nation of many, multitude. So God is aware that Abraham has another son. So why would it say here and put emphasis on Isaac being thine only son? Could this be where the Jews have tried to tamper with the scripture? For surely Isaac was not Abraham's only son. He had Ishmael, his firstborn. Abraham had two sons. And God is not a liar. But Ishmael, when you trace his identity, it seems to disappear. Because Ishmael is the one that was sacrificed who will go through slavery. His seed, Ishmael's seed, would be the seed that would go through slavery. Not Isaac's seed. Ishmael is the one that was sacrificed, not Isaac. But I suspect that this is where the Jews wanted to tamper with the scripture to put themselves in position to steal your and my birthright. They had to get rid of Ishmael's lineage. They went into the book. The book was pure when they got it. When they got it, they tampered with it to try to steal something that is not theirs, to try to take advantage of the fact that Ishmael's seed would be lost, would go through a hellish prophecy called slavery. And through this hellish prophecy, they would have amnesia. I shouldn't say amnesia, I should say their minds would have been destroyed as a result of slavery. Ethnocide, destroy Ishmael's seed's mind, where they forgot who they are, they forgot their language, or it was destroyed. They forgot their culture, all of that. And God knew that this is what would happen to Ishmael's seed. Hence, he said, I will make my covenant with Isaac, that through his seed, you got to go wake them people up. A Messiah has to come through Isaac's lineage to go wake up Ishmael's seed because they would be in such bad shape that they won't even know who they are. They would be thinking that they are white people. They wouldn't even know their identity. They wouldn't even know their language. So it would take a man outside of us to tell us the truth about ourselves. Why do you think when Master Farad Muhammad came? Master Farad Muhammad came through Isaac's lineage by way of Esau, not Jacob, through Esau. And he came to North America, to the wilderness of North America. And found us. When he came, why didn't he just go and populate with the Arabs? They was here. Why didn't he go to the Arab population and just open up a bodega? Why didn't he go to the Chinese or the other ethnic groups that were here? Why would an Arab, hear me, why would an Arab travel 9,000 miles across the water to the Western Hemisphere and focus on a people who are known as Negroes? Why did that when he told you that where you're from, your ancestors wore great silk garments, they was kings and queens, they were gods? Why did that knowledge affect us to the point where black people started waking up by the thousands? He could have went to any ethnic group. Why did he come to us? Because it took a man outside of us that knew who we were to tell us who we are. And that's why he was able to resurrect at least 10,000 by himself, just by telling us the truth about ourselves. So it is Ishmael, my point, that was sacrificed, not Isaac's seed. I suspect this is where the Jews tamper with the books. Because what are they trying to, what are the Jews trying to do? Steal your and my birthright. This is an attempt on their part. They ain't got there yet. They caught. They have been caught. So this is an attempted theft to take from you what is really yours. Because they got the book. And when they got the book, they saw where Abraham's seed was promised some land. A lot of land. They saw the wealth that Abraham's seed would get as a result of being sacrificed through 400 years of slavery. My question to you is this. My question to you is this. Do the Jews fit that description? And if they did, we need a timeline. The Jews claim that they were in slavery 4,000 years ago in Egypt. This is when this took place. So now all we have to do is go back 4,000 years ago to Egypt and see if we can find any evidence of a people that was chosen by God in Egypt and was 400 years in slavery. That's why this story about the signs of Moses and Mary is so profound. Because once the truth comes out in terms of who Moses really is, it's going to shake up the entire world. And this is why every minister of Mr. Silas Muhammad should be getting this message out to our people. His Savior's Day lecture, the signs of Moses and Mary being fulfilled. Because see, a sign is not the real thing. A sign of my affection for my wife would be me giving her flowers. The flowers is not the affection. That's just a sign of my affection. The real affection is coming here. So there was a Moses 4,000 years ago. But was there a Moses that freed somebody from slavery, that took people across the Red Sea, that the Red Sea opened, water split itself open, and the children of Israel, whom the Jews claim they are, walked across on dry land? Is that a fact? Well, we have searched the history of Egypt. In fact, we got accounts from the president of Egypt, historically speaking, when they were at the base of the pyramid signing the peace treaty, Menachem Begin and Anwar Sadat. And Menachem Begin said something to the effect that isn't this marvelous that here we are at the base of the pyramids where our people were enslaved. And Anwar Sadat said, I'm sorry, we have no recollection of any of that happening in our country. Okay, there's a rebuttal there. There's no historical fact in Egypt that there were people in slavery 4,000 years ago. Now, Egypt history goes into thousands of their dynasties. Never is there any shred of evidence about a people being in slavery 4,000 years ago for 400 years in Egypt. We ain't talking about 200 years. We ain't talking about 150 years. In order to fit the seed of Abraham, you would have had to been in slavery for at least 400 years. You have to have been a stranger in a land that was not yours. Jews were never sold on auction blocks. Here's a quote from Henry Ford, the International Jew, page 26. The Jews are not the chosen people, though practically the entire church has succumbed to the propaganda. War of Armageddon, mental war. That's how you fight a war, through propaganda. To the propaganda which declared them to be so. This is a Caucasian man, a rich Caucasian man, Henry Ford, Sr. It's in the International Jew, that book, page 26. The Jews are not the chosen people. What did he know? He knew that they wasn't the chosen people. He knew that this was a false claim. But you and I, we was dead over here. And they had made us think that the Bible is a history book. The Bible is not a history book. The Bible is a book of prophecy. The story about Moses and the children of Israel in Egypt enslaved, that story is a sign. That prophecy is a sign. It's just there as a sign pointing to the future. The people that had been that would be in slavery had not yet been born yet during that time. No one was in slavery during that time. The Moses that the Jews have reference to is the one that left Egypt with 500 books and went into Europe to teach them. When he got into Europe to teach them, he found cave people. There was no Chinese cave people. There was no Japanese cave people. There were no Indian cave people. There were European cave people. When Musa went up into the caves of Europe, he found them eating raw meat, bark off trees, savages, unclean, very filthy. And he began to teach them, Musa, the knowledge of civilization, how to cook, how to sew, how to use fire to cook your food with, how to walk upright as a man, as a human being, because they had humps in their back and they were used to walking like gorillas on all fours, like animals. It was Musa, which means Moses in English, that went up there and taught them. That's the only man that taught them. But they weren't in slavery. They just went savage. That's what happened to the Jew, not just the Jews. We're talking about Caucasian people. The term Jews, they came to be known as Jews. Let me put it this way. The first ones that hearkened on to Musa's teaching, they became known as the Jews. Jews are Caucasian people. That's a fact. But Jews were never in slavery in Egypt. And they even made this statement to Jesus. When Jesus told them, ye shall know the truth and the truth shall set you free. You know what they told Jesus? Man, what are you talking about? We be Abraham's seed and were never in bondage to any man. They just told on themselves. They told Jesus that. They never been in bondage to any man. That's because it never happened, brothers and sisters. They were trying to deal with a prophecy that had not yet been fulfilled until we, the black man and woman who are over here now, came into slavery. That's when the prophecy became a living prophecy. It became a living prophecy. So the Jews are not the chosen people of God because they don't fit the criteria historically. There is no historical evidence, not one shred. Now, this is not Brother Dewan saying this. This is coming from their own rabbis, their own teachers, and other religious scholars saying the same thing. Here, let me read this to you. Because we're here to destroy the Jews and their lies. With what? With the truth, with facts, with evidence. By Stacked Rocks, April 6, 2012. Now, here, please hear this and follow me with this. Still, I didn't think all that much about it until years later when I stumbled upon the article called Did Jewish Slaves Build the Pyramids by Brian Dunning. This article really got me thinking about the Exodus story. Dunning's article reinforced my skepticism about the Exodus story, and it fueled my feelings of betrayal. I was taught for most of my life that it was a historical fact that the Jews were slaves in Egypt. This history was part of my cultural identity as a Jew. This is a Jew talk. Even when I gave up the ridiculous superstitious belief associated with Judaism, I could still proudly feel connected to the Jewish culture, which was grounded in the deep history of liberation from slavery. As it turns out, well-known Jewish commentator, author Rabbi David Wolf, has also known about the Exodus myth. Not fact, but myth. In his article, Did the Exodus Really Happen? He mentioned that other rabbis wanted him. Now listen to this. They're trying to hide it now. He mentioned that other rabbis wanted him to keep the fiction of the Exodus story on the down low. Ain't that something? Keep the fiction story of the Exodus on the down low. Liars, hiding the truth while they know. Not all of them. We're talking about a handful of people that's running the world, that's controlling things, that know who they are, and they know what their destiny is. They're not going to tell every last Caucasian people, every last Jew. They're even deceiving some of the Jews, just like they deceived this man, who thought that it was true until he found out that it was all predicated on a lie. The basic story of the Exodus from Egypt, extracting supernatural elements, was touted to me as one of the most historical aspects of the Bible. Yet it never happened. This seriously put in question the historicity of any and all Bible stories. Further, how immoral it is for modern Jews to continue to perpetuate this myth at the expense of Egyptian dignity. For thousands of years, the Jews have blamed the Egyptians for enslaving their ancestors when that never actually happened. Continuing to celebrate the Passover without acknowledging the truth of history only perpetuates the shame. How about that? How about that? You thought it was just the Muslim or Brother Dewan or Minister Najib Muhammad just saying this. These are Jewish people that is finding out the truth. I told you, they didn't tell all Jewish people that they are lying about this. This is only a hand group of Jewish power that is trying to exploit the fact that Afro descendants here in the Western Hemisphere are dead to the knowledge of who we are. So they sought to position themselves to take you on my birthright. This is the scripture part of them trying to do it. But now, when did it become actualized? We're about to get to that. We're about to get to when the Jews actually tried to actualize them being the chosen people of God. I am in Numbers chapter 33, verse 50 to 54. This is the verse the Honorable Silas Palmer gave us to read in his Savior's Day lecture. In 1948, the Jews attempted to physically establish themselves and announce to the world, insinuate that they are God's chosen people. Therefore, the land that they had taken that they took from the Palestinian Arabs, that they are justified and qualified because God gave it to them through Abraham, and according to the Jews, by way of Isaac, by way of Jacob. So now, this is our land historically, so the Jews say. Now, in 1948, here's what they did. I'm going to read the prophecy first. And the Lord spake unto Moses. Now, this is the Jews reading this, and this is them trying to say, this is what we got to do, to show that we're fulfilling prophecy. It's ludicrous. And the Lord spake unto Moses in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when ye are passed over Jordan into the land of Canaan. Canaan, that's Israel today. Canaan, Palestine, Israel, Jericho, all the same. The name changed, but it's the same. They talk about the same city. Then ye shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land from before you, and destroy all their pictures, and destroy all their molten images, and quite pluck down their high places. And ye shall dispossess the inhabitants of the land, meaning get them out of there. For I have given you the land to possess it, and ye shall divide the land up by lots for an inheritance among your families. Until the more you shall give more, until the less you shall give less. That's why they're building settlements. They're constantly moving the Palestinians off land and building settlements because they're trying to fulfill that. Now, when did this occur? In 1948. When Great Britain, the United States of America, and France deceived the Arabs. They wanted the Arabs to help them dethrone the empire of the Ottoman Empire. They wanted the Arabs to help them overthrow the Ottoman Empire because the Ottoman Empire was a thorn in the side to Great Britain trying to fight Germany. But if they can get the Ottoman Empire out of the way, then it will make that defeat of Germany all that more great and easy take. They had to get the Arabs to turn against the Ottoman Empire to do that. So they went to Hussein Sharif. Yeah, they went to him. He was running Mecca at that time. And they tried to get him, or they coerced him into fighting against the Ottoman Empire. And if he did, then they would have an Arab state. What Hussein didn't agree with was that Palestine would be a part of that deal. The Arabs didn't agree to that. But the French, the Jews, and the British were in cahoots to get that land, Palestine. Oh, yes. This was double dealing here. We're talking about in real life. So when the Jews agreed to help Great Britain foster up Jewish or stir up Jewish support for the war against Germany, the Jews first was going to go to the side of the Germans. But they asked Great Britain in so many words, look, help us get, it's called the Balfour Declaration. look, help us get that land, Palestine, which is our homeland. And then we will get up, throw our Jewish support behind you in the war, Great Britain and France. Great Britain agreed. The Arabs didn't know anything about this double dealing. After they defeated the Ottoman Empire, the Arabs, and Great Britain defeated Germany. Now comes time to make through on your deal. Come to find out, the Arabs found out that they were duped by the Jews, they were duped by the French, and they were duped by the British. Because the British had its troops stationed in Palestine. Now, during that time in Palestine, it was about 3% to 5% Jews, maybe around about 4 or 8%, something like that, Christians. But the overwhelming majority was Arabs. They had been there for thousands of years. This is the Jews back in 1948 insinuating to the world that this is our land. So therefore, those Palestinian Arabs that was on that land, this is a historical fact. The Jewish militias, with the British troops still there, it was almost as if the British troops was guarding that land and letting the Jewish militias have their way. Because they went in that land and they started slaughtering, based on this scripture, killing, ethnic cleansing, justifying murdering men, women, and children, innocent men, women, and children, running them off that land, and justifying it by using this scripture that I just read to you, under the guise of it's their land and they are God's chosen people. That's what they did. But they're not God's chosen people. The true chosen people must fit the description of Abraham's seed that went into bondage. Now, if you come and ask us, the black man and woman in America, have you ever been in slavery in Egypt? We got history books to prove our ancestor was sold on auction block. We got historical data to prove that we've been 400 years in slavery. The Jews can't produce it. I just read you the evidence, how they're lying. It's coming from their own people. That's probably why Hitler went against them. I don't care if they hear this because I'm speaking facts. And the Jews, the devils, they can't deal with the truth. They can only deal with you when you don't know the truth or when you're taking truth, mixing it with falsehood. These are facts coming from their own people and coming from Jesus himself. When he asked them, ye should know the truth and the truth shall make you free. And they say, man, we be Abraham's seed. We've never been in bondage to any man. Then why are you claiming to be Abraham's seed? Jesus discovered that they wasn't the people. He discovered that. He was playing with them. So Jesus said, yeah, sure you are Abraham's seed. You know what Jesus, you know why the Jews don't like Jesus? They never accepted him as the prophet, although they say he's a Jew. Because he told them this. Yeah, sure you're Abraham's seed. You know, like, yeah, right. Jesus said, yeah, you're of your father, the devil. The lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in the truth. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, because he is the liar and the father of it. St. John chapter 8, verse 44. That's why the Jews don't like Jesus. Because he was the first one to call them devils. That's because he knew who they were. After he mistakenly thought that they were us, Jesus did, of 2,000 years ago. He mistakenly thought the Jews were us, until he found out that the man that was supposed to come at the end of 2,000 years, at the end of the 2,000 years, or the 6,000 years, I should say, had not yet been born. And Jesus realized that he was out of place, that he was out of prophecy. And to stop from being a hypocrite, he put the prophecy back where it was supposed to go by saying, I must go, that the Comforter may come unto thee. And when he got through with his messages, and putting prophecy back into its place and telling the Jews that they are the devil, naming them for who they really are. Now, Jews are white people, so when he calls the Jews devils, he's talking about the entire white race. Then he offered up his life when the two Roman soldiers came to assassinate him. And one Roman soldier grabbed him 3 point something of a second, and Jesus said, "You touched me first," because there was a reward out for him. And he just stretched his hand out like this. He was unafraid. He wanted to die because he wanted to be a martyr. He wanted to not go against God and go down in history as being a hypocrite, because he stepped outside of prophecy and tried to fulfill a prophecy that wasn't written for him. So he willingly gave up his life. And as a result, he's one of the righteous among the righteous prophets of God. That's how Jesus really died. A sword was driven through his heart in front of a Jewish store. And because there was no fear in Jesus, his arms was frozen just like this. They had to break his arm to get his arms down and take him off the door and bury him in a temple in Jerusalem. That's the truth. That's facts. The Jews are not God's chosen people. They're liars. They're deceivers. They're robbers. And we must bring them up on charges in the international community and charge them with attempted theft. We must charge them with attempted robbery. We must charge them with fraud, telling the world that they're God's chosen people, when in fact they're not God's chosen people. They can't even prove it in a court of law. And this is what we're dealing with today. We ain't dealing with no biblical, hokey pokey, spiritual, spooky bullcrap. We're dealing with law. How can you prove that you're God's chosen people? You don't even fit the description. There's no historical evidence. 4,000 years ago, where's the evidence? Where is the evidence of the golden calf? You mean to tell me that's not in a museum somewhere? Where is Moses' rod? Shouldn't that be in a museum somewhere? People paying money to look at Moses' rod? They can't produce Moses' rod because there was no Moses 4,000 years ago in Egypt. That was a sign of a future Moses, a future people. Hear what Messenger Muhammad says. In Message to the Black Man, Misunderstanding and Misinterpretation. 5th paragraph. In this country, Allah desired to make himself known as he did, for example, in Egypt. Only this time it is universal, coming first to the lost and found members of the Black nation of America. Now check this out. When you follow the flow of his conversation, he just throws this in there, like a message. That prophecy, note the word, that prophecy, not history, that prophecy of the Bible from Moses to Jesus must be fulfilled. See, not even the Muslims who was raised up under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, not even they knew about that. They were thinking that it was a Moses 4,000 years ago. In fact, I was watching one of the Messenger Muhammad Savior's Day. I don't know if it was the Savior's Day, but he had a question and answer period. And someone from the audience asked him about that story. And because I know the truth, and I know Moses could reveal certain things, I thought it was clever with how Moses answered that question. Elijah Muhammad, I can't remember verbatim, but he didn't answer that question. He didn't want to answer it because he would have revealed too much. And he didn't want to pull the cover off of. He didn't want to reveal things that it wasn't time to be revealed yet. The man who would unveil that prophecy would be his spiritual son, Silas Muhammad, who would use that message to identify who the real Moses is, of which we won't go into today, but next week, we're going into actual fact proof. I got it too, concrete, who Moses really is. We can produce Moses. We ask the Jews who say that Moses came to them, produce him. Where is he at in history? Show us his rod. Show us the golden calf. Show us all of the little things where you all walked across, where the sea parted, and you all walked across with mud and all of that, and y'all got to the promised land. It don't make sense. When the Egyptians are denying that they existed, that there was no slavery in Egypt 4,000 years ago, the Egyptians are saying this. Jewish people are saying this. Jewish rabbis are saying this. Caucasian Henry Ford Sr. are saying this. The Jews are not God's chosen people. Then if they're not, then who is? Take a mirror and look at yourself. Look at your history. You know what's strange? I was talking to a young man on my job, and I said, hey, you know who the chosen people are? He said, yeah, everybody knows it's the Jews. What's interesting about this young man is he was from Haiti. But even he just said it like it was, wow, like second nature. Okay, yeah, everybody know who the chosen people. It's the Jews. You see how deep the warfare goes? It's in his mind. So that means whatever the Jews do, because they're God's chosen people, that don't nobody else have anything to say about it. Nobody else has anything to say about it because that's God's chosen people. And through God's chosen people, all of the nations of the earth will be blessed. Well, let's just see about that. Did they bless us? I want to say, hell no. They ain't blessed us. The Jews were responsible for buying the slave ships to come and get us. They didn't bless us, brothers and sisters. They are responsible for a large part of the population of America having slaves. They are slave owners. Jews are. What nations have they blessed? They're not blessing no Palestinian. The scripture says all of the nations of the earth will be blessed in you. They killing the Jews, they killing everybody. That's because they're not God's chosen people. They never have and they never will be. They are attempting to steal your and my identity. Now, because they're trying to do this, Mr. Silas Muhammad spoke about God. Now we're doing away with lies. We're doing away with all this deceit, lies mixed with truth mixed with falsehood. We're doing away with that. I'm going to be very emphatic when I say this. Brothers and sisters, there is no God. We are the gods. The white race is the devil. There's no other way to put it. I don't care if they're insulted about that. It's not my problem the white man didn't teach his people who they were. They kept that among themselves. But God came, Master Farah Muhammad, Almighty God came and told the world, told Elijah who they were. And Elijah went all around the world telling them that they are the devil. The white race is the devil race. Why do you think those people in those black original people in those places that were being colonized started rising up against white colonial power and running them out of their country? Because they had gotten the knowledge. God had found his people. And it's time to get rid of, run the white man back to where he came from, which is Europe. All that money that the Jews are getting under the guise of being you and me. Are you going to let that happen? See, you can't sit at home and say, oh, wow, we are the chosen people. Well, what are you going to do about it? You trying to rob me? You trying to take something that's not yours? Oh, no, I'm getting up, I'm fighting for it. How about you? How do you feel about that? Every black man and woman needs to rise up and spread this knowledge. Fight for what's ours. Don't let them damn Jews take our birthright. We are the seed of Abraham by way of Ishmael. In fact, Ishmael, when you study the little bit of him in the prophecies, you can see how it easily fit us. Ishmael's hand was against his own brother. and every man was against him. That's us. Ishmael prophecy is lost in the scriptures. Are not we lost in humanity? Yes. And if we're not careful, because we're in the war of Armageddon, the white man can put us back into slavery. I shouldn't say us, I should say African American, because Afro descendants, we're not African Americans. He can't put Afro descendants in slavery, but he can put African Americans or black people that call themselves Americans. His Constitution has every right to do that. Why do you think they're coming back up with the Jim Crow law? I'm sure the Secretary shows spoke about that. In Mississippi, they're coming back up with the Jim Crow law. That Constitution can put you back in slavery. You're still considered as 3/5 because you're a savage. You're not a human because you don't have your human rights. I don't mean to insult you. This is not why I'm saying this to insult you. I love you. You are my people. I love me. But I love for you to know the truth. The truth is that the Caucasian race, the United States government turned us into savages, unwanted people, twerking everywhere you go. You see black women twerking in McDonald's on cars, twerking, showing their behind. Black men killing one another and killing other people too. Everybody is against us, and our hand is against everybody. Ishmael, the seed of Ishmael. Brothers and sisters, that's you and me. And when I studied the history, you know how I know I'm Abraham's seed? This is a personal note. When I was reading the history of Abraham and how he came to find God, this is real talk. It was the same, it was almost similar. I should say similar to the way when I was a young man, how I was looking for God. That when I read that, I was like, oh man, I said, wow, this is how I came looking for God, the truth about God. I didn't care where it came from. I just didn't want to be lied to. I just wanted to know the truth. And I found what I was looking for, like my father, Abraham. I know I'm Abraham's seed. I feel that connection. How about you? Sure. We are the real Arabs. Make no mistake about that. You know who else know we are the real Arabs? That we are Arabs is the Caucasian man. And a COINTELPRO back in the 60s, I was looking for this information, and if I find it, I'm gonna bring it up in the next Zoom meeting. How it was something going on between Arabs and the white man in Africa, and Malcolm X going to Africa. And the white man say they probably would side with the Arabs since that's who they're more akin to. Why didn't he say Africans? Why did he say Arabs? Don't you know they know who they brought here? He had reference to the Nation of Islam. Don't you know they know who they brought here? They just recently came out with something on YouTube where this Muslim was a slave, and he had narratives of how when the white man came and got him, how he was sold to a cruel master. This was in the 1800s that they got him. I think his name was Omar. But then, according to the YouTube channel, they went on to say, well, 20% of us was Muslims. I dispute that. When the white man says something, you got to always double it or triple. I would say maybe 35 to maybe 40% of us was probably Muslims that they brought here to America as slaves, not no 20%. But his narratives, you can read it now. It's in the Hall of Congress. A Muslim that was brought from Africa over here in the 1800s to be a slave. We came here in 1555. So he escaped. He escaped the ethnocide part where they destroyed our identity and we didn't know who we were. At that time, the white man had already destroyed us as a people through ethnocide. Never forget that. Never forget The ethnocide is what destroyed us and our identity as a people. And after that, we became known as Negroes. Ethnocide. That is the complete destruction of a people or ethnic group's culture, language, way of life, their God, their religions, all of that. Completely destroyed. Ethnocide. And that's why when W.D. Farad came, guess what he said? You are my uncle and I am your nephew. And he said, he does not know that he is my uncle. We didn't know. Why is that we didn't know? Because we didn't know the blood lineage. We didn't know the lineage of Abraham. We didn't know that through Abraham's lineage, Ishmael would be that sacrificial. Abraham allowed your seed Ishmael to go through that slavery for 400 years, and Ishmael, their descendants, is going to get all of this land. They're going to get all this gold, big, beautiful home, plenty of money, and friendships in all walks of life. In that lecture, Mr. Muhammad mentioned that in Arabia, he mentioned about cities being built and how cities are occupied. And it made me wonder. Now, this is a little minister to wonder, just like somebody else may have been wondering. Are those cities being built for us? The big, beautiful homes? Somebody got to occupy it. Brothers and sisters, we are God's choice. And all you got to do is come back to yourself. Start the war of Armageddon with the self. Do you really want to be a liar? Ask yourself that question. Do you really want to just continue to live a life doing wrong? Is that the legacy that you want to leave behind for your children, that you are a liar, that you are a wrongdoer? That when the war of Armageddon was being fought, you sat on your family eating potato chips and going to the movies? You didn't do nothing to help your own people? That's what you want to leave for your children? The legacy of an underling? Forever being an underling to white America? And there's nothing you can do when they make these laws. You can't do nothing about it. Where's your black caucus who's supposed to be representing you? They making laws in Texas, in Mississippi, reinstilling the Jim Crow laws. Where's your black representatives that's supposed to be legally representing you to make sure you're not getting shafted? Your only sanctuary, our only sanctuary, is in self-government, the Afro-descendant nation. The white boy, white America can't touch you once you declare yourself an Afro-descendant. Because all Afro-descendants in the Western Hemisphere are the chosen people of God. And we got the record to prove it. Now, what we're going to do next week, since we are the chosen people of God, and they may ask us, well, if you all are the chosen people of God, then who is Moses? We're going to go into that next week. And I'm going to show you, I'm really going to show you factually who is Moses. I know the scripture. I'm so glad that the Honorable Silas Muhammad taught us the scriptures, because I know them so well. I know them so well that I feel like I can't be defeated. Now, when it comes to the scriptures, I know exactly what it means, because he broke the seals on them already. He already told us who it was. This is why the signs of Moses and Mary, once that knowledge get out there, and we start telling the people the truth about who Moses really is, the whole Christian world that's based on the belief that Moses existed, just like I read to you, the young man, all of his belief was shattered when he found out that they wasn't really enslaved, that the Jews wasn't really enslaved for 4,000 years. It destroyed his belief. The Exodus, when he found out that never happened, and it was all based on a lie, a myth. Well, what do you think going to happen when we're constantly hammering that, inculcating that into the minds of the public? Because this is the war of Armageddon, and you need to put on your garment. You need to unsheath your sword, and you need to spread the truth as well. Expose the lie that the Jews are telling. They are lying. They're not Semitic people. They have the audacity, and I mean they have the audacity to claim to be Semitic people and have people like Kanye West and Kyrie Irving confused. Even Louis Farrakhan admitted that the Jews are Semitic people. Oh yes, it's on video. When that's one of their ways of trying to sneak in among us by claiming to be Semitic. It's impossible for them to be Semitic. They're devils. When Musa taught them, their prophet Musa, they started coming out of Europe, trickling down into other parts of civilization. Yeah, this began an awakening of, and they took some of this knowledge back to Europe, and this began an awakening of the intelligence of Europe when they started seeing advanced civilizations in Egypt and Africa and India and in other parts of the world. They aren't the ones that established civilization. It is the original man, Jebus and Ariel, that built, what? Jerusalem, the temple in Jerusalem. We got the lesson. Jebus and Ariel, they were Muslims. They built that tomb that Jesus rested in Israel, that they call Israel today, which is ancient Palestine, Canaan, Jericho, the very first city. Oh, we're coming after you, Jewish. Coming after you to expose you. And everyone that believe in the truth, everyone needs to speak out on this. We telling everybody, man, woman, and child, whites, if you're a white man or a white woman and you believe in the truth, because you have some decent white folks. Yes, you do. You have white folks, all of them don't believe in a lie. You have white folks, all of them don't believe in just doing wrong. I just showed you the Jewish man read his comment once he found out. Henry Ford right here, who said the Jews are not the chosen people of God. Like, man, what more else evidence can you have? But we got more, if that's what you want. We're going to show you who Moses is next week. Yes, we are. We're going to show you right down to the modern day time the sign of Moses being fulfilled. The story that you read about in the Bible, that's a sign of Moses. Now, who is he? And how can I prove that? I implore you to come back next week, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to prove that. I hope you was able to get something out of this lecture today. And it's so much in the Savior's Day lecture because I haven't gotten to Mary yet. I'm going to get to Mary, but first we got to deal with the signs of Moses because it's so much that entails. And we got to break it down. And I need you to ask me questions so that you can be clear and follow Mr. Silas Muhammad and what he's trying to communicate to us with our understanding. You're God, brother. Sister, you are as well. Start acting like it. Walk like it. Talk like it. Carry yourself like a God. Being fair and just to all people. Keeping your environment clean, neat, and orderly. Yeah. So with that said, we will resume next week and we're going to Moses and proving and pointing out to you just who he is. Who among us, the black leaders, that fulfilled the prophecy of Moses. Because you can't be a local preacher like Geno Jennings. You can't be somebody local. You got to be somebody renowned like Louis Farrakhan, like Malcolm X, like Marcus Garvey, people like that, like Martin Luther King. You got to be someone that the world that had an impact on the world. We go into it, and I'm going to close by saying, in the name of His Majesty, Master Farah Muhammad, to whom praises are due forever, and in loving memory of the last messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, peace be upon him. And I would like to give honor, glory, and praises to our divine leader and teacher and guide, the Honorable Silas Muhammad. And I would also like to give honor and recognition to Queen Mashaki Muhammad. Now,